There we go. All right. All right. First of all, I'm massively ADD and jet lag today, so if I seem to be really off topic, it might actually be reality. And also, talk about personas. Is anybody familiar with personas in web design? Yeah. Oh, okay, good. Or not good, actually. It won't apply as much. And then this is where it's kind of been developed a lot. And I also think it's really valuable in digital strategy, and as that goes over into SEO and social media and all these other things we use to try to get what we want done from a website. It's not a critique of data. I love data. I use a lot of, and spend a lot of time looking at web trends and looking at analytics, all that other stuff. Some of my life better, but then I get too caught up in it and forget some very important things, which is that we're talking about people. And we're not talking about everybody. We're talking about usually a few specific people that we want to do something. So data is good. Here's some like data. So because it's about the Kardashians and whatever. Okay. So federal websites, government websites, nonprofits, everything like this. When we're going to do strategy, develop something, what they do is they gather up stakeholders, right? Put them in a room. So what are we going to put on the website? This is that's all right. Here they are. So this is the stakeholder input method, and you get your typical stuff like people are going to need mission statements. We need call to actions, which may or may not be relevant. White papers that are 300 pages long. We get I've seen people send massive PDFs of every mayor's report ever. Like, okay, let's post this website because it's content. People like content. Kittens. I should go back here real quick. I told you I was ADD. This is like, I think, the best demographic analysis ever, which is, and I know the cosmology isn't accurate exactly, but infinite number of worlds, not everyone's inhabited, so there's an infinite number of uninhabited worlds. And then if you do the math, it ends up that the average population is 0, so there you go. And this is the output of bringing everybody in and having stakeholders put everything they want on the front page, which is lots of crowded stuff which nobody wants. And what persona, and this is where this is the background. And personas came from is a web development technique to basically pick 4 or 5 people who represent your audience and give them a very strong personality, so that when you're in there in the meeting and you're a web developer and the director says, oh, we want to have a mission statement. You don't have to say, that's a dumb idea. You can say, oh, okay, but we're looking at our persona, our, like Mary, our 30-year-old nurse with 2 kids who uses websites this way when she goes. She's not going to want to see a mission statement. She's going to want to directly see the task that she wants to accomplish. So the persona is a tool for web developers to remember what they're really trying to do instead of, trying to accomplish everything. And it's getting back to what is SEO, and like I said, I think a lot of people explain really well, the ideas of the factors that have to do with traffic, increasing traffic, getting more people to the website. But there's a lot of times that we don't care. We care about a certain specific group of people or person and getting them to come to the website and have a certain reaction. I was talking to somebody who's like an architect. He does work with commercial realtors. He's like, we're going to get a lot of eyes on the website. No, I mean, none of those eyes on the website are going to all of a sudden sign you up to do a commercial real estate project. I mean, it's not really how people operate. So we need to look at who could come to the website, who could help that person, and then so the SEO needs to focus on that, not just on general traffic. And this is to just create traffic. This is, I don't know if anybody remembers the Bill Cosby routine about his dad's car and everything. And when finally they can't find he pulls his dad's car at the gas station. The attendant's looking all around. They can't find where the gas goes. And finally the attendant says, let's just put gas all over the car. Maybe it'll go in somewhere. And to me, that's like the general traffic theory. And this also goes back to what is SEO. And it's not relevant, I know, to everybody here, but for those of us who came into the profession looking at, because we wanted to be, because it was a core part of web strategy and we wanted to accomplish something, seeing over time it's become more and more compartmentalized into like being sort of an add-on to a website instead of what it should be, which is part of the strategy. Because you're not talking about search, traffic, technology. You're talking about people, what are they looking for, and how do you address that, and whether your website is addressing it. And I noticed that recently, a few years ago, user interface designers were called user interface, and that was a word that has interface with this technology. And then they changed it to user experience, and they get more respect because experience is about people, right? So they went and changed from UI to UX. And I won't do all the math at the end, but I think SEO needs to do something. Okay. Now, we get to the AE part. I just threw some stuff up. I was looking at a couple of different websites that are about like supporting divorce. People, and you think, okay, so the content's pretty similar here. Who are they reaching out to though? One of the sites, this is from DoubleClick, and this, I know it's data, but this is part of the stage of figuring out whether you're reaching actual people or not. I mean, the one that said divorce.net, they're both mostly women, and then this one's getting higher levels of education, higher levels of income, and then the other side is much narrower range of income, much lower education. Now, either one could be a target market for a particular person, but sorry.
Where did you find this data?
This is just did people use DoubleClick, Google's analytics tools? Yeah, this it's a pretty handy little tool.
This data came from DoubleClick, somewhere at Google.
The lower income one happened to go to Walmart right after usually. And so it's really, really good. And now, which traffic is better, which group is better? It depends. I mean, if I'm a sole practitioner, divorce attorney, who's looking for, certain types of clients, maybe this is it. Maybe these are the people. Maybe I do protection orders, right? So maybe I need people from this group to find me. And maybe if I'm, like a larger firm and I want to have a family practice and work with families for a long time, maybe that's my, But whichever one it is, they're different. And then to get to the point where I can really do design or search engine optimization or any kind of strategy that works, instead of just looking at this data, I need to create people like personas, which are sort of like invitation people. And I would actually they would have a name. So I would have the 30-year-old divorced woman with 2 kids, lives in Baltimore. She uses iPad. She, has a part-time job. She has daycare. I would have all these things that I know about her, and then that would help me when I look at search data, search terms, figure out what are her anxieties, what is it she's looking for. And I would not just have one. I would have, at least, like I said, 4 or 5 that represent the different people I'm trying to reach. Here's some websites for divorce attorneys. I ran these through with my idea of what a persona was, and then had a friend who was kind of more or less similar look at them, and it was kind of interesting the reaction we got. So these are 4 different divorce attorney websites. I know you can't read them all from back there, but I just kind of give the overlay. Like this one ends up looking like a template to everybody, and you don't realize it, but subconsciously you catch that. So you don't really like. This one kind of worked actually pretty well. This one, you think, this is the kind of site that would come out in either a design community or SEO people with it, just looking at data would like this site. You would say, oh, this is great. We have pictures, we have content, we have stuff here, stuff there. But I'm also seeing divorce, business law, litigation, all these things grouped together over here that my persona would look at and probably get turned off by. Whereas this site is very simple, but what does it seem to offer? It seems to offer like a personal relationship, one-to-one, quickly describes what it is that we do for you. And then these keywords down here, child custody, child support, almost, these are specific things that are probably my anxieties. Those are the problems, if I'm that persona, those are the things I might be worried about. And when I see them, I see somebody who might be able to answer that and help me. So, and I didn't put all the data in the universe up here, but I did look at some of the search terms and all that, and even Google AdWords, which is an awesome tool, but when you do the, the low, high value, whatever like that, it never told me that those were the best terms. It told me, finding attorneys and all these other things. And it didn't get me down to that point. So, so the data's great, the data is awesome, but the personas is just a way for me to help navigate through that and make good decisions about it. And I have one last slide, which is here because it's awesome, but it's not entirely relevant. And I love to give you background. I went into a store today and asked, it's like, I think Johnson & Murphy, they had trying on a shirt, all the fitting rooms gone, you can use the employee restroom in the back. So I did that, and this is what they had. It's 3 elements. Engage customer, presentation, and finishing touches. Sorry, I couldn't figure out why it was relevant, but I just thought I had to do it.
Use that for every presentation.
Yeah, that's where it is for now.
Actually, the website is what it
All right,
is.
so questions?
Yeah, we have to talk about questions then.
Presentations, content.
You said you texted the 4 different websites, is that right?
I said just persona-wise, like
How did you do that? Did you do usability testing, or did you just?
no, I was just doing it for us.
Oh, okay.
I did, but no. What I did do was I took the persona that I as a development tool in myself, and then I had somebody who sort of matched that, had her look at it and got her reactions. So and so just to see how well my impressions using that tool matched up with what she was saying, so that I could go and then go back to the sites and say, was that a helpful tool? And yes, it was. It helped me figure out which site was the most accessible to the kind of person they're trying to reach. And then also from an SEO, but a more general content strategy perspective, looked at what on there content-wise is really appealing. And part of that is the bullet. I know it seems simple, but bullet-pointed words that answer specific anxieties that person has.
One thing we haven't done a lot of talking about is Facebook advertising. I wonder if you could use demographic features within Facebook to maybe target a website and then split test the website around that demographic and see the different results around that.
I think that's great. I mean, if you ever use Facebook, if people use those tools, it'll give you a lot of information.
Yeah, if nobody's used Facebook yet, Facebook has so many different categories you can tailor. Like I have a stretch limousine company, so it's good for me. I was playing around with Facebook and I noticed that one of the categories, just to give you an idea how deep it goes, you can pick people who are engaged. So for me in particular, I say I'm definitely going to throw a lot of links on for the people who are engaged, because I have a limousine. They need limos for the wedding and stuff. But I just want to mention that Facebook, you can go into very, very detail, and tailor your ads towards certain types of or groups of people.
Although that Facebook does, remember I think I had 3 band names from first I signed it up with the only names I could remember, so that's my whole interest. It does have a fantastic thing. So.
Do you have any recommendations in terms of articles, books, guidelines, stuff like that for persona building?
There's one of the best, can I use your?
Yeah.
Well, it's going to take me a second to find it, but it's probably it's by the FDA actually, but it's on how-to.gov. So the background's a little bit government skewed, sorry guys. What happened?
Yeah,
Just gotta click I accept.
Yeah.
Okay, so should I mess up the URL? Okay, there.
And then to get what he just what he's talking about. Because I use the same strategy on my site. Was it I have a stretch limousine company. And I have certain sections of my website. Like I got one section for bachelorette parties, and I have one set where it's like airport transfers. Now, the type of people looking for airport transfers are mostly corporate people with like executives flying in and out of town. So
Well,
that's
I'll
the
get that to
my
you. It's
website.
on here
It's not
somewhere,
about
but I'm trying to read it so everybody
nice,
knows.
shiny
Right.
things. All they want to know is the
Yeah,
rates.
there's an article on there on how, okay, so
for that-
if people
for
just
that
go
part
to
of my
how to.gov,
website,
look up
prices.
personas, and
Now,
actually,
the
if you look up
bachelorette
the
party, I'm
NDA,
thinking
so I know
the kind of
that
people
there's
looking at
offer
the
for best
bachelorette party
people
page,
on
like
there.
young
It's
brides,
really
want to
good.
go out to
Like
party,
National Cancer
play
Institute
games.
says,
So on
it's
that
the
particular
offer
page,
is
my
less
website is like
usability,
pink colors,
information
a lot of
on
pretty
the
things.
general
Women are like,
Right, yeah, how to.gov is run by the
kind of
GSA, and they
adds
select the
piggyback
best
on what
different
he's saying,
agency
how it's
stuff,
good to know
and
the
present
types
for
of people
everybody.
looking at
So,
certain
I mean,
parts
it's
of
really
the
good
website,
source of that.
so you can tailor
But,
those
yeah, that's why we
pages,
go.
some stuff that those types of people want to see.
So typically, if you're working with a small business client, would you have one persona or multiple personas?
First, to find out what they're trying to do. Versus working with, like the website.
Not for myself.
How many
no.
other things for their, potential client base? Because you want to know usually who they want to get as a final decision maker, usually, but also who has influence on that person. So if they're doing the kind of business that can only sign a contract with the owner or the higher level person in the company, you can do that persona. But you also might look at the personas that people tend to do research. Like some people are very influenced by their IT department, so you would want to do a persona that represents that, or you know what I mean. So you want to do several. Usually, I can't imagine too many cases where you get down to just one, but you want to have enough to cover that.
I am absolutely new and know nothing. But I guess what I've sort of figured out from this is that maybe all this stuff isn't really the best thing for a really small business because it's so expensive.
Well,
For like when you were talking about those 2% conversions for $187, if I have a small bakery, I can give away $187 of food and make a lot more sales doing that than, having, cause I'm just sort of a beginner user even, and I just find that it's amazing to me when I put in different words, all the different kinds of things that come up. Sometimes they seem to be totally unrelated, and sometimes I would think that this business that I'm thinking will come up doesn't come up. So, to me, I find this to be really interesting that you all, think about this, but I also think that in some ways it's not a very useful tool.
It all depends on the location of your business. Really, and the type of business that you have. Really, if you have a bakery, you're really looking for more area, you're looking for more local traffic than anything else. Whereas when you're going for internet traffic for, say, if you sell any kind of a product online, you're talking international at that point. So, it's a completely different ballgame. You have to really tailor the information to your specific business.
So for a local business, like, that's only going to be local, like you were talking about the bartending business, which is local, because people have to go to business.
Yeah, but that would be a little bit different because that's a school, and people could come from anywhere in the world for that.
Yeah.
So.
But
I was thinking about what David was talking about. David before was showing that list of the directories, and they cost $40 or $300 and everything. And we set up something for a business, and it makes a couple $100,000 a year total. It's got a couple of employees, et cetera, et cetera. And I was thinking to myself, not a lot of competition. We spent money on a couple of those directories, and we got pretty high rankings from that, and I went on to do a bunch of other things. I was sitting here thinking to myself, man, there's a couple of $40, $50, $100 things. We actually had a lot to do with bringing in a stream of a couple $100,000 over a couple of years now. That is great payback.
Oh,
That's
so you
pretty
would
amazing.
say those directories might be a good a good thing to look at.
There's a lot of value to this stuff.
And you can use a persona to help figure that dividing line out, because look at, like, say, Heller, I don't know if people know DC, Heller's Bakery in Mount Pleasant, right? Their persona, their ideal customer might be a community person in the neighborhood, slightly older, right? Whereas a new bakery, you know, or Hello Cupcake, or like that, their person might be, they make all their decisions by following food trucks on Twitter or Yelp or something. So if that's where their decision making is, and you know that because you profiled it, then you have to be there. I mean, and it doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of money, because some of that can be done different ways, but your strategy has to say, I need to be at the point that person makes that decision. Like, I need a cupcake, I pull out my phone, I want to yell, I look at my food truck for feed or something, versus I go to where my dad went there, tellers or something, you know.
Your personas are also going to be based upon your business objectives too, to some degree. People you choose as personas. So some of your customers are the people who come in off the street and buy a cake, buy whatever. Some of your customers may be local restaurants in the area who you sell bread to every day.
This is a
Some
very
of your customers-
specific, they only do gluten-free food.
Okay, well, that's fine, because that's going to
Yeah.
be my presentation. So,
Yeah.
Okay, well,
and I'll talk about those.
Specific things.
Yeah, it's coincidence, but it works.
appreciate it.